Illinois and the Chief Deputy Majority Whip. Congressman, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here on Power Lunch.
Thanks very much.
You have a proposal on the table to permanently cap capital gains at 15%. Make your case.
Well, I think that's where the action is. There's nobody that's really making a straight-faced argument that says we need more taxes to create a more robust economy. My argument is let's create predictability. Let's make the U.S. the best jurisdiction to invest in. Let's make the U.S. the best jurisdiction to save in. And let's make the U.S. the best jurisdiction to create jobs in. Capital gains and the formation of capital is inextricably linked to our long-term prosperity. And I think that there's a strong argument to be made by that.
People on Wall Street would probably agree with you. People on Main Street may not agree with you. How do you expect to get support? What kind of support have you managed to muster for this proposal?
Well, it's an interesting thing. If you start to look at some of leading Democrats and what they're starting to say, they're moving away from President Obama's position on some of these tax rate issues, and the capital gains issue is related to that. And I think what's happening is, look, Main Street is saying we've been underserved by the past 4 years based on where the economy is growing. There is a relationship to capital formation. They may not call it that, but there's a recognition that capital has to form in order to create investment and long-term prosperity. So there's no reason that we should be having 8% unemployment, and this is a remedy to move us forward.
Congressman, you talked about providing predictability for Main Street, Wall Street, the markets. One of the things that is not predictable right now is looming very large, and that is the fiscal cliff. How do you think it will be resolved? How would you like to resolve it or see it resolved?
Well, the House has acted already to do two things. The House said, let's do the current tax rates for another year, but don't do them just for the sake of doing them. Do them as a bridge to fundamentally reform the tax code, which is some of the Ways and Means in the Senate Finance hearing consideration that was underway earlier. The House has also acted and said, here's an alternative to the sequestration that is poised to happen. Remember, sequestration was never meant to be policy. It was meant to be so provocative to move the super committee to action. So there's an opportunity to do this. I've been disappointed on the other side of the aisle. There's been some leading Democrats that have said that they embrace the fiscal cliff and that we need to go over it. And that makes no sense to me. Pursue that for the sake of party dogma and to put the economy in a riptide doesn't make any sense. My hope is that after the election, cooler heads will prevail and we'll be able to come up with something sensible.
Speaking of the election, you're a Republican from Illinois. It's been a tough couple of weeks for the Romney campaign. What do you think Mr. Romney needs to do now?
Well, look, I mean, if you're Barack Obama, you're looking out at a landscape that's very, very challenging because you've played all of the cards that you're going to play. You've got an economy that is underperforming, health care that's disappointing, and no energy plan in place, and presidential leadership on the Middle East that's been absent. And the president has basically not laid out what he wants to do in the next 4 years, and nobody wants to live through the last 4 years. So if I was Mitt Romney, I'd continue to concentrate on those themes and to have Paul Ryan by my side, and I think those things are going to be very compelling moving forward.
How much do you think the video that was released earlier this week has hurt Mr. Romney, if at all?
Look, I think the video is more of an indication of the nature of the challenge that the economy is in. For example, why is it true that household income has dropped $4,000 since President Obama came into office? Those are the questions that most Americans are asking, and those are the questions that folks want remedies to. They're not so much interested in gotcha comments. You know, the president has made his missteps when he said you didn't build it and those types of things. But I think most Americans are focused in on their own families, their own communities, and their own possible prosperity, and they see a president that is really underperformed.
Congressman, thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.